Hello, everyone, and welcome to this video. And we're going to be talking about Jim Crockett. Rodney, I think we'd have to all agree, and Jack, we'd have to all agree that Jim Crockett, promoting for over 40 years, almost 40 years in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, probably one of the greatest promoters in professional wrestling. Would y'all agree?
Yeah, and it's not only our agreement. Everybody that I've ever talked to or heard talk about Jim Crockett Promotions, they love that guy because he treated them well. He expected you to work, but he paid them, always paid them better than probably any other promoter out there.
What many people might not know, he goes back to the 1930s. Jim Crockett goes back to the 1930s. Rodney, your thoughts before we start looking at, and Jack's going to start on March 2nd, 1931, but your thoughts of Jim Crockett Sr.
Actually, as far as the pioneers of wrestling, probably, if I would say, the most successful promoter of all of them, truly, because he started the company really from nothing.
Yeah.
And created a huge following throughout the Carolinas and Virginia. And he definitely goes down. And not many people talk about the importance of Jim Crockett Sr. and just how brilliant he was. Tremendously hard worker, always involved. And I don't think he sat at home while somebody else run the show. I believe he was there.
I think he was too. Well, we're going to start. And this is not Jim Crockett Promotions. Basically, this is not his shows, but these are wrestling events that took place before Jim Crockett got there, and Jack's got those 4 events.
March 2nd, 1931, Eastern States Championship Wrestling at the Auditorium in Richmond, Virginia. Waldeck Zbyszko defeated Jack Washburn in 13 minutes. Tommy Marvin defeated Nick Nestor in 18 minutes. Milo, the great Milo Steinborn, versus Paul Jones with a time limit draw of 30 minutes. And then the NWA World Heavyweight title, the New York State Athletic Association World Heavyweight title, Jim Londos, the champion, defeats Matros Kilinenko.
Yeah, that's a very hard one.
In 36 minutes. So there's 4 matches and probably well over 2 hours of action. That's pretty good. January 6, 1932, ESCW again at the City Auditorium in Richmond. George Consonaros defeats Norton Jackson in 12 minutes and 30 seconds. Tommy Marvin defeated Bill Nelson in 42 minutes. Rudy Dusick defeats Cy Williams. And Rudy, that guy has got quite a history. In fact, his son, we need to try to get him on here sometime. January 27th, 1932, ESCW event again in Charlotte, North Carolina. Rayford Hoover defeated Kid Byers in 7 minutes and 10 seconds. The best 2 out of 3 falls. Les Grimes defeated Clyde Robinson. The first round was 2 minutes. The second was 28 minutes and 31 seconds. The best 2 out of 3 falls match also featured Joe Savoldi, who invented the drop kick, by the way, defeated Hardy Kruskamp. The first match was 2 minutes. The second match was 30 minutes and 46 seconds. And then on December 20th, 1933, ESCW again at the arena in Greensboro, North Carolina. Nick Bazanis defeated Mike Kilonis, in 38 minutes. Jim Hesselin defeated Gus Pappas, and that's all we have for that particular card.
And
if I could just real quick, we can tell that most of these names are the real names because if they were ring names, they would have changed them.
I was not, as I was looking and doing research on this, I did not realize that Joe Savoldi is the guy that invented the drop kick.
Yeah.
When I looked it all up, we knew his son, Jumping Joe Savoldi. I met him several times in, I think it was Mid South Wrestling, wasn't it, Rod?
Yes, it was awesome.
The
Really
following information that we have is from I believe, from a book by Tim Hornbaker. Am I correct about this, Jack? He has a book called The Prelude to the Wrestling Empire, the introduction.
Yeah, he has several books out. All of them great historical books.
You can go to the legacyofwrestling.com. He has The Death of the Territories. He has a book on the National Wrestling Alliance, the Capital Revolution, the Rise of the McMahon Wrestling Empire. All these are available on Amazon, or you can go to legacyofwrestling.com and you can find information about this. Because while I was doing the research, really, he was the only one that had the research on the beginnings of Jim Crockett. So we will now go get that, Rodney. If you'll start it out there, and we'll go.
The Crockett Empire was launched in 1934 during a crazy period for wrestling in Charlotte. There was a mixture of shenanigans, ballyhoo, and controversy. I love all of that. In the city that nearly derailed wrestling business altogether, John Francis Irish Horan was the promoter and matchmaker for Southeastern Wrestling Association, an outfit that organized shows in the Charlotte Armory Auditorium. Horan had reportedly entered the town the year before, boasting impressive credentials. He was said to be a former boxer, light heavyweight wrestling champion of the world from 1918 to 1925, a celebrated trainer of the likes of John Benaski and Ray Steele, and more recently was a matchmaker from the wrestling was the matchmaker of the wrestling at Madison Square Garden. The true facts are a little different. Horan was born in 1900 in Peoria, Illinois, and by the age of 16, he was working on touring the circus. He did explore his athletic prowess as a bantamweight boxer and a lightweight grappler. For around 17 years, he was the business manager and press agent for the world famous entertainer Tom Nix, and worked for Charlie Sparks' Downey Show. He boasts of professional wrestling accomplishments in the ring at the time as a famous matchmaker in New York, were mostly fabricated. Let me say that again. He was a con artist.
It looks like he may have took some or maybe Nick Goodland took some things from this man. He said, this is what he said. However, at the time, no one in Charlotte had a clue. The sports writers and citizens believed that they were being represented in the grappling field by a real professional. Horan was indeed that, but it came very natural for him to utilize his tremendous experience in the field of publicity under the circus tent to go overboard with his statements about his background. The crafty promoter also made promises to bring in names such as Jim Lundos. Is that how you say that guy's name? Londos, and Jim Browning, and build wrestlers as champions even after they had lost the titles.
Yes. Brilliant.
Looking at the facts in the case, it all seems kind of appropriate. But again, the Charlotte Boxing Convention, which regulated professional wrestling, the Charlotte Observer sports editor Jake Wade, and sports writer Fritz Littlejohn were all in the dark. Okay?
Featuring all non-heavyweights on his shows, Horan imported the likes of Frank Masawitz, Leo Alexander, Charlie Allen, Leo Wallach, Al Stetcher, Joe Campbell, Eddie Pope, Mike Kilonis, Pinky Gardner, and his reported protege, Benansky. His programs drew upwards of 3,500 fans, and on March 19th, 1934, more than 4,000 saw Benansky topple Gardner in 1 hour, 9 minutes to retain his Midwest Wrestling Association light heavyweight title. The large crowd was expecting a scientific spectacle between two of the quickest wrestlers in the industry, but they received something on the other end of the spectrum. To sum it up, Wade Keller of The Observer wrote in his report of this show, until Bansky won, he was about as pathetic a figure as you'll ever see. He didn't look as though he belonged in the same ring with the cool and workmanlike Gardner. Bansky looked like anything but a champion. Fans were very upset by the finish, and some believe wholeheartedly that it was all faked. Regardless of the horrible press, Horan pushed on, saying that he couldn't do anything about the match's result, and advertised his next show, which was headlined by Bansky defending his title against Charlie Midget Fisher on April the 3rd. That was an interesting bill, specifically because Fisher had upended Bansky for the light heavyweight championship on February 28, 1934 in Columbus. Bansky had no championship to defend in Charlotte versus Gardner or Fisher. Horan didn't care. He drew 4,000 plus for the first title match and expected even more for the Bansky-Fisher exhibition. On top of that, it was released in the press that Horan had recently gone to New York City to deal with bookers in a talent-sharing deal to bring major names to Charlotte, including heavyweights for the first time, an innovation he believed would tempt large audiences.
Rodney?
Shortly after announcing the Monday, April 3rd event, problems between Irish Horan and the Charlotte Boxing Commission surfaced. The advertising and talent was arranged in advance, but the commission refused to give its blessings to the show and cited the fact that there was a boxing program at the Armory on Friday. The commission wanted to run wrestling and boxing shows on alternating weeks, and Chairman Captain T.A. Childs said the reason that the commission was confused. Did I skip that? The commission was refused to sanction the show was because it was unfair to the boxing promoters who were putting on the show Friday night and had already secured sanction for their billing. Additionally, the Charlotte City manager, J.B. Pridgeon, and the city council both offered up opinions on the matter, backing up the decision not to sanction Horan's show. To safeguard his show, Horan, is it Horan? I think is it Horan, isn't it?
Yeah.
Obtained a restraining order from the Superior Court preventing the commission from interfering, and a hearing was scheduled for the Monday morning of April the 3rd to discuss the case. Through the press, Horan dropped a bomb on his adversaries, saying that the Boxing Commission had no legal authority over professional wrestling and that he didn't need approval from that body to go forward with his operations. Horan admitted that he was fighting this thing through because he stood to lose money and because he felt for some reason that the commission had taken an unfair stand towards him. He stated that in the past, the commission had allowed boxing and wrestling shows to run in the same week, and he recommended the creation of the city wrestling organization to supervise the sport.
Before we move on,
oh my goodness!
Before we move on, Jack, what do you take out of this? Was they going after this man? Was what they were doing to him correct? I mean, yes, he was. I don't think they knew that he was at the point. They didn't know that he was a con man. But were they doing him wrong in this instance?
If they were unaware of the con that he had pulled off, then yeah, they were definitely unfair for going after him.
I mean, it looks like they were trying to hinder him from promoting wrestling. There could be a reason for that coming up on later on down as we speak a little bit more. Rodney, what do you think about what is going on with the this promoter at this point?
It sounds like they got a lot of heat from that previous match. The commission did. They had a lot of complaints, so they were probably saying, "Okay, we've got to rein this guy in." because they probably had a lot of fan complaints to them, a lot of letters and calls. Well, I don't know if they got calls, but they probably got a lot of letters, a lot of people come knocking on their doors talking about what a ripoff that was. And so they were probably in the roundabout way putting the screws to it.
The day prior to Warren's card, the boxing commission sanctioned his event, ending the need for court action. Childs said that the reason for the reversal was for the best interest of the game, and the organization officially adopted a resolution allowing only one boxing or wrestling program a week. In response, Horn declared that he could run weekly. If he could run weekly, he'd be able to secure better talent. People wondered how all the controversy would affect his April 3rd show, and only 2,800 fans paid to see Fisher beat Banaski to unify whatever claims the latter had with his own. 8 days later, another disappointing crowd turned out for Horan's Armory. 8 days later, another disappointing crowd turned out at the Armory, showing a 3-match card featuring heavyweights, which he felt would draw a bigger crowd. Maybe not. All right.
The feud between Horan and the Charlotte Boxing Commission continued to brew. The wrestling matchmaker scheduled his next show for April 27th, the same evening as a boxing program staged by the Charlotte Athletic Club. The Boxing Commission and the City Council both approved the Fistic event. Horan stubbornly refused to let up on his decision despite the growing odds, calling the judgment against him unfair and discriminatory.
Yes.
If he wasn't approved, he planned to go again through the courts and was rumored to have friends in high political offices locally, which may have held some merit. And I think I misread that. They did turn him down. Anyway, in the days that followed, Horan's assistant Joe Williamson announced that they had run their program at the ballpark instead of the Armory, but couldn't yet name the wrestlers on the bill. Bucking back against the rogue promoter, the Boxing Commission threatened to take appropriate action if the wrestling show went on without approval. Williamson told the Observer that they were having trouble getting the wrestlers, and on April 21st, Horan's show was canceled for that reason. Horan responded to the Boxing Commission's effort to stifle his program, saying that he was, getting used to that sort of thing now. The paper indicated that he probably would be out of Charlotte most of the summer, and Mrs. Horan would carry on his promotion activities while he is away. On April 27th, the Charlotte Athletic Club's effort drew a disappointingly small crowd. Al Massey beat Frank Torchberry by disqualification in the 3rd round when he fell to the mat without being hit.
We see that every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday nights. We see that every.
Have you noticed, though, another woman promoting pro wrestling? She was taking care of the promotions while he was off. I think he was promoting. I'm pretty sure he was promoting a circus in Canada, I believe, at this time. Rodney?
Yeah, he said that the elephants would be there, but they didn't show up. So he had just stuffed elephants, had them on a stick and hung them around there. Fritz Littlejohn of the Charlotte Observer filing in for Wade in the regular column on May 15, 1930, broke the news to the local enthusiasts about Irish Horan. He explained that he'd heard from Dan Parker, the renowned sports writer from the New York Daily Mirror, and a man that Horan once claimed to use to be negatively comment on his wrestling promotion. Parker, according to Littlejohn, declared he never heard of Mr. Horan, and further, at first a checkup at the wrestling headquarters in New York failed to produce anyone who knew Mr. Horan, either by sight or reputation. Littlejohn said Horan, originally from Peoria, was off publicized in a circus in Canada and wasn't scheduled to be back in town for the return of wrestling at the Armory. after 6 weeks layoff, Joe Bonaski beat Myron Minster in the May 18th Army effort, winning in an hour and 5 minutes before a small audience. 2 days later, wait a minute in the Observer that they were all taking us for a gorgeous ride, and that's the Haran myth was shattered. Manaski even came out to explain that he was never managed by Haran, and Wade dubbed him as a cheerful liar. The influential sports writer concluded by saying wrestling ought to be washed up, as Haran himself is in this town, as Haran himself is in this town. It never appealed to me, as a reader of this column knows, and now that Haran has been completely exposed, I think a lot of other fellows will lose the zest for it. The wrestlers, as it says, have been guilty as Haran for the fakers that has been staged and the lies that have been told. On May the 28th, 1934, the North Carolina Athletic Commission permanently blacklisted Irish Haran for engaging in the promotion's professional athletic state. Anyway, they suspended him. He's out of there. And it was noted about that time that the commissioner, President C.W. Stockard of Greensboro, thinks highly of Jim Crockett, the Greensboro mat promoter, and apparently believes that wrestling, as it's being conducted there, is okay, and stated as that was stated in Wade's column. Oh my goodness!
Let me ask you this question, and just looking over that, was Jim Crockett at the time, was he in the ear of the commission and that?
Possible, but what Jim Crockett had is a reputation of providing quality shows, doing what he said. That has always been. I've never heard of Jim Crockett Sr. a discouraging word about him being dishonest or ripping anybody off. Never heard it. And I think that's what gives him this in with the commission president right there, because of his honesty and good business practices, which, as you can see, I can see why this guy is run out of town and blacklisted.
Yes. The public support for Crockett was followed up with the announcement in the June 12, 1934 edition of the Charlotte Observer that Crockett and Bill Lewis were planning to petition for a license to promote in the city. Lewis at the time was the frontman for the duo and well known for his outgoing personality. The former wrestler was preceded by a sterling reputation and had turned Richmond into a prominent wrestling city, while Crockett had started the business early in the decade in his hometown of Bristol. By 1934, his operations had expanded throughout Virginia, Tennessee, and North Carolina, with Greensboro being his largest town. Although the duo promised top names like Jim Londos, Rudy Dusick, and Joseph Odie, getting approval for the boxing commission wasn't a given.
In fact, Lukey Tenner and Joe Williamson, Haran's former lieutenant, were both considering filing applications for a permit to promote in Charlotte. The Charlotte Boxing Commission denied Lewis and Crockett during their June 18th session and approved the license of Williamson, who was planning a show for July the 9th. I'm sorry, that was June 18th session. Anyway, during the meeting, Chairman Childs asked the latter promoter whether wrestling was or wasn't on the level. Williamson answered, "Some of it is."
But they think Vince started that.
Yeah. Lewis sent a letter to Wade of the Observer, which was printed verbatim in the July 1st newspaper. He wrote, "I cannot understand why the Charlotte Boxing Commission will not permit me to promote wrestling in Charlotte. I understand the present promoter was told the commission he can get some good wrestlers through me. This is not so, and he cannot show any of the wrestlers working for me. I am now putting on wrestling shows in Richmond, Virginia Beach, and Roanoke. The Richmond sports writers would tell you that I am the only man who has been able to popularize the sport there. In 10 shows in Richmond, I have only had one substitute, talking about filling in a missing wrestler.
A war over talent and hearts and minds in Charlotte wrestling fans seems to be on the horizon, and it came down to whether or not Williamson could find suitable wrestlers. As of July the 9th date approached, as the July 9th date approached, the promoter announced that he would have to push the event back to July the 16th and announced that Al Stetcher would be facing Leo Alexander in the main event. Several other bouts were planned, and it seemed that Williamson was going to be able to revive wrestling successfully. Not so. On Tuesday, July 10th, Williamson told the Boxing Commission that he was calling off the program and leaving the door open once again for Crockett and Lewis. As they took advantage of the situation, refiling the permits to promote wrestling in Charlotte, the Boxing Commission approved their application on July the 16th, 1939, and sanctioned their initial wrestling offer set up on August the 10th, featuring heavyweights at Robbie's Fields. Crockett explained to the board that he was going to move to Charlotte and leave his brother in charge of the business in Greensboro and planned to do some real promoting here, according to Gene Lawing report in The Observer. In the days leading up to the inaugural event, Crockett announced that he would have Bill Middlecoff and Stan Siskowski, I hope I said that right, in a 2 out of 3 fall main event, but then replaced the former with Herman Hickman, an ex-football player at the University of Tennessee. The problem seemed to continue when the Friday, August 10th show was postponed until the following Monday due to bad weather. Yet another substitution was needed to the undercard, but Crockett kept in good spirits and presented the first Charlotte wrestling show at the Armory on August the 13th, 1934.
And here's the card. At the Armory Auditorium in Charlotte, North Carolina, August 13th, 1934, Marshall Blackstock defeats Harry Lewis 19 minutes, 52 seconds. Jim Henry defeats Lee Collins 13 minutes, 22 seconds. Best 2 out of 3 falls. It was Henry Hickman defeats Stanley Sitkowski, maybe Sitkowski. I'm not for sure how you really say his name, but it was 2-1. I guess Henry Hickman won 2 falls. Stanley must have won 1, and it was 21 minutes and 56 seconds.
Fritz Littlejohn of The Observer estimated the crowd was somewhere between 800 to 1,400 persons. That's a big difference. But anyway, the audience watched Hickman beat Sitkowski in a pleasing performance. Crockett, the obvious perfectionist, took a different stand, saying, "The main bout disappointed me a little, but I guess it was a fair show." Lewis was a traveling man and reportedly went to New York for real, unlike Horan, to secure a talent-sharing deal that would keep top-notch wrestlers moving through Charlotte. Crockett and Pete Moore, whom he shared the ownership of a circus, also increased their territorial size when they invaded Tampa in 1935. Attendance at his shows fluctuated like any other city, but by the end of his first year in Charlotte, Crockett had endeared himself to the local audience, sports writers, and people of influence, stabilizing his promotion for the long run. Crockett had successfully breathed life into a town burned out by Irish Horan and swayed cynical fans to return to the Armory to see the hottest action in the region. Speaking of Irish Horan, whatever became of him? Well, he moved on to the automobile stunt driving business, teaming with Lucky Teeter for a while and then going out on his own. His Hell Drivers toured the country from June to October, running about 100 live thrill shows annually. Horan became the celebrated voice of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and was known for announcing the Indy 500 until his death of a heart attack on May 2nd, 1958. In the entertainment business for upwards of 40 years, Haran had seen and done it all, from the smallest stages and the smallest tents to venues of all shapes and sizes across the country, and ultimately to the biggest wrestling spectacle that there was. His flair for the dramatic and colorful approach to everything he did certainly was exposed during his stay in Charlotte. But little did he or anyone else know at the time was that his collapse opened the door for the Crockett Empire to begin, and Big Jim made the best of that opportunity.
And we will look at Jim Crockett further. We'll look at after an event in August on 1934. We will go in depth and go all the way until Jim Crockett. Each and every week we'll go further and further, and until Jim Crockett Jr. sells his company to Ted Turner. Something I did not understand and didn't know, that Jim Crockett ran wrestling in Florida in 1935. Did y'all know that he went to Florida?
I had no idea.
We learn something new every day. Jim Crockett, we're going to find made a lot of money. And not only did he promote wrestling, but he also promoted the Harlem Globetrotters, all kinds of different types of concerts. And we'll talk about those as well. If you enjoyed this video, give us the big thumbs up, subscribe to the page, and go one step further. Make sure you hit that notification bell. And we hope you enjoyed this video. All right, Jack Rodney. Now let's talk about WrestleMania.
Well, right before we get started with that, let's mention that Bushwhacker Butch Miller, also the Sheep Herders, the Kiwis, passed away Sunday night during WrestleMania. As a matter of fact, he had flown from New Zealand to be a part of WrestleMania weekend. I'm not sure if it was with WWE or one of the other numerous events that were around the city associated with it. But a big loss to professional wrestling. And, for those of us who followed him, he and Luke made a tremendous impact in professional wrestling. And it shows the diversity that they were able to do of going from one of the most feared tag teams in professional wrestling to one of the most successful, more comedy acts in the WWE. And they had no problem flipping that switch and going the other way. As Luke said, we were in our 40s. There wasn't too many barbed wire matches left in us. So, but condolences to his family.
WrestleMania, for anybody that watched WrestleMania, I thought was a pretty decent show. Some repetitive things that take place there, but in all, tremendous matches, tremendous storytelling. I thought the fans were with it, and that's all that you have to ask for. It's the fans with it. I mean, if they were sitting there on their hands, going, well, I wish something would happen, but they wasn't. They were with every match. I thought Rey Mysterio and his son had a tremendous match. 80,000 people, I think, was there that watched it. I mean, so what can you say about the WWE? Tremendous. And I truly believe, I think it was like $21 million gate for the WWE. So just tremendous. All right, Jack.
21.6 million gate and another 20 million on sponsorships.
Wow.
They did okay.
I think they did. Rodney, what did you think about WrestleMania? You didn't watch it, did you?
No, I didn't watch it. Was it out?
It was. You know what? I
don't have the Peacock Network. I'm sorry.
I think having what did we figure, Jack? They have 6-8 matches.
I believe that's right. Yeah.
On each show, I thought all the matches were the tag matches were horrible. They were horrible. But boy, Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley, man, that was such great storytelling and such a great match. And I think Charlotte now is going to take time off again.
Yeah,
she takes a lot of time off, doesn't she?
hey, if you can get it, you can get it.
I'm under the suspicion though that she, when they brought her back, wasn't planned for her to come back yet. I believe that was an all of a sudden thing, because look, she worked up to WrestleMania and then gone. So my impression has been, or when I saw that she was going to take some time off, I believe she only came back just for that purpose, to fill a hole that needed to be filled because they didn't have anybody. I believe she came back because it was kind of just out of the blue she returned. I'm not sure whether it was Ronda Rousey that was causing the problem or what was the case, but it was just seemed that she came back with just the purpose of doing this one show. It seemed to me.
Talk about Ronda Rousey. Is she horrible or is it just me?
She's been hurt, so they've been protecting her because she didn't do anything in that 4-corner tag match she was involved in.
No, boy, I was bad too.
But yeah, besides being hurt, the quality of her work has really gone downhill. Yeah. And she has, taken to the social media complaining about a lot of things that goes on there that she doesn't like. And I don't know, that prima donna attitude is just coming out with her. And honestly, I don't think she's drawing any numbers for them anymore.
No. Rey Mysterio and his son, to me, the storytelling in that and the whole match, Dominic was very good in this match.
He really was. He has really come out of his shell. Yeah. Now I wished he would detour over to the gym a little bit more, but still, the outfits he wears more or less cover that up, except for the arms. But yeah, he was excellent as a heel. I mean, and everything that they have done story-wise leading up to that was just great storytelling. I mean, no father wants to hit his son. Well, how do you make him do that? And when they finally revealed that, on SmackDown the week prior, when he was getting into his mother's face, well, a man's going to defend his wife, even if it gets against his child. So they were just, it was great.
Taking the belt off and whipping him, had the people went nuts.
They did. Yeah.
Just good storytelling. Listen, people know I don't watch WWE. I don't watch but I thought they did a tremendous job on WrestleMania. I thought it was great. There was some things I didn't like. The tag matches I did not like. There was a couple of other ones I did not. I thought John Cena was horrible. I thought he was just horrible. Looked horrible, and I don't know what that stance was every time, that crouching stance he did the whole time he was in the match. What was that all about?
I don't know.
And he don't need to be in the ring. He don't need to be in the ring. I'm sorry.
Well, he still draws numbers for him, and that's why they keep bringing him back. But they need to get some spray paint to cover that little ball spot up before he comes out.
But, the 6-man tag was a 6-man tag match, wasn't it? With a 6-man women match that had Lita, Trish, and whoever else was in the ring with them. I can't remember who was there.
Becky.
Not a fan of Becky Lynch. I don't think her work rate's real good. And Lita was absolutely horrible. She was absolutely horrible. Trish was really good. I thought Trish did a tremendous job. Yep. But Lita had no timing whatsoever. No timing with Lita. But folks, if you've not watched it, you have the NB. If you have Peacock, watch the show. If you're a wrestling fan, you will enjoy it. It is a tremendous show. Let's talk a little bit about Endeavor and their purchasing of WWE, which, Jack, I think you said it would be the first of the year before that would actually go through.
And sometime later this year or by January of next year. I mean, there's a lot of money involved, a lot of books that's got to be gone over. So there's a lot to it. This ain't like they're going to write Vince a check and he's, cashing it tomorrow. It's a process.
Rodney, let's talk a little bit about Raw. Brock Lesnar turns on Cody Rhodes. We talked about this. Me and Jack talked about this. I probably, I don't know. We don't know their plans. Okay, we don't know WWE's plans. We don't know where they're going with it. So we just personally, I thought Dusty Rhodes would not allow a booker or anyone if he got beat. Let's just say if he got beat at the Atlanta City Auditorium on Friday, and the booker would have came to him the next morning and said, "Now this is what we're going to do. We're going to have this guy beat you up on television." He said, "Wait, just 1 minute, baby." No. I got my booty kicked last night. You not beating me again. No way you beat me again. Not on television, baby. No. I don't think he should have been. I think he should have kicked tail and then got his tail kicked the next week. He need at least kick somebody's tail.
Or at least gone through that match and gotten a win.
Yeah.
Even over, even if he's pinned solo. And then have Brock turn.
Yeah.
But to do that, before the match even starts. Yeah. I mean, I think I know that they're trying to recreate Dusty's journey to the NWA championship, where he faced all kinds of adversaries and all kinds of hills that he had to climb to get back in that ring again before, until he finally defeated Ric Flair. But with every defeat that Dusty had, there was a victory. It evened out. There was never anybody any better for drawing sympathy than Dusty Rhodes. Then there's been some great ones in our industry, but that is ability, that I believe, is what made Dusty such a star. People could identify with him. People are identifying with Cody. They're backing him. But it's like we call it in the wrestling business during a match. You've got to give the crowd the hope spot. You've got to give them the impression that good guy, hey, he's making a comeback. He could win this match. And see, we got 2 nights in a row of no hope spots, really. A crushing defeat and then a skull crushing defeat the next night. It was overkill. Now, do I see the necessity of it? Yeah, but it should have spaced out a week or two. That's just my opinion. And like we've said, we're not on the payroll. Nobody calls us from the corporate office and asks our opinion of it. This is just from the old school eyes of how we look at things.
Yeah, we don't know where they're going. We don't know why they did it and why they're going that route. Rodney, your thoughts? I know you watch Raw. You've got USA Network.
No, I don't. No, I don't have it. No. My thing is that the match at WrestleMania didn't bury Cody. Cody was beaten by 4 people in that match.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
It took 4 of them to beat him. He was right when he said in the interview during the show that he had his number, and he did. Okay, the odds was not in his favor. Okay, he took 2 of them to beat him. It wasn't Roman Reigns that beat him; it was all the other people. But as far as Roman Reigns, he broke the hold. He got up from the spear. I mean, he brought it to him. The only part that he missed was the spike. Okay, so no, it's just like when Wrestling 2 got beat by Austin Idol on TV when Harley Race put the belt up in the corner. Nobody said, "Oh well, 2 lost it. It's over for him." No, because it took 2 of them to do it. Took 2 of them to take the belt away from him. How many people did it take to beat Tony? I think it's 4. Wasn't that? Didn't the Usos were out there at one point? Wasn't they out there? And then you had Solo out there. Then you had Paul Heyman out there. So you had basically 4 people out there. So it took 4 of them to beat him. So no, he could have went through that entire match, which I would have done if it was a sports show. We would have went through step by step. Here's where you thought you had me, and you didn't get it done then. Here's where he broke his submission hold, right? He had the reversal in his submission hold. You thought you had me then? You didn't have me then either. The only way you beat me is by your stooge standing beside you. Without him, you don't have those belts. In fact, you need to give those belts to him, because without him, you wasn't a champion.
Hey,
You're still not a champion.
And if it wasn't Crazy Luke Graham, is that
Ernie Ladd?
That's one heck of a
Ernie Ladd. Okay. So now we come to Raw. Okay. Now we come to Raw, and I'm okay with all of it. Everything they did, I'm okay with it. The Brock Lesnar thing, I'm fine with everything they did, because it didn't bury Cody. What buried Cody, if you want to say anything, or buried any of the situation, was the awful commentating. Corey Graves and Kevin Patrick. If it was me, I would meet them at the curtain, fired both of them. I'm not sure who told Kevin it was a good idea that the beast is feasting. That was the most corny, stupidest comment I have ever heard in my entire life. And then Corey Graves, Cody's only on instinct. No, he's not. He's shocked that he's got beat up by this, that what somebody he thought was his partner. He's not on instinct. He's not even battling him. He didn't make one effort, but he's on instinct. Who in the world's telling these people? Is Vince back in the ears telling him, oh, say that, Corey, this is a good idea? Or is it just Corey not going back to his acting days when he was back and trying to get his Emmy for his Emmy Award performance on SmackDown? I mean, it was the commentating destroyed the entire angle to me. I mean, there's nobody saying, nobody was saying, we need to get him some help out here. They didn't say that not one time. Somebody needs to break this up. Brock, why is Brock, they said Brock's doing it, but they never said Brock complaining with him. Why are you doing this? Stop. Where's Lance Russell? Where's Gordon Soley? Lance Russell said, oh, come on, Brock. This is going too far. We need to get some help out here. But they never said that. They were just commentating on it like it was a regular match. And for me, Mr. Kevin Patrick, who can't help himself but laugh through the whole show, and Corey Graves will be in the unemployment line if it was me today.
Hey, y'all,
totally disgusting. Totally disgusting. And everybody, Cody and Brock, was working their tails off, while these two stooges, two clowns sitting up there joking through the whole show, thought that was funny, apparently.
I don't think that I would have done that on that show. I wouldn't have turned Brock Lesnar.
Well, if I was going to do it, I would have did it at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean,
I would have had Brock take out Solo and then take out Cody. And then when they came back to have the next day, you have that. Why did which I understand why the story that Brock's going to tell is going to be very similar to what Terry Funk said about that fat, disgusting, egg-sucking dog, Dusty Rhodes. It's going to be exactly the same thing. This guy comes in here, and all of a sudden, he gets number 30 at the Royal Rumble, and now he's going to be at the WrestleMania after I've been here all this time. I've done the battle.
Yeah, he cannot get any more championship
That's
back.
Right. He can't. That's right. That's the reason he came out of the tag match. But still, I mean, you think about it. When it comes down to it, and this is the one problem that they may have. Can Cody do the butt kicking like Dusty did when it comes down to it? My thing is probably not.
I can tell you that he can't beat Brock Lesnar.
Well, I mean, when you're 220 pounds and Brock Lesnar is 298, I think that's what they announced him as. Yeah, it's not. And when he just snatches him up, I mean, he was just snatching him up by his tights. I mean, just like he was nothing. Yeah, it's. Now it could be, if Brock does put him over, that might set him on the path.
And maybe he will. Hey, Vince McMahon. Is he getting ready to do the and be the next Gomez Adams? I don't know. Have you seen the mustache?
Yeah, I saw it at a press conference the other day, and I was thinking they're going to have to hurry this up because I'm sure he has a beautiful woman to tie to some railroad tracks as soon as they're done.
That's correct. Have you? It looked to me like Vince may have had some work done.
Yeah, more
I
than
was
just
thinking
the
that
hair.
myself.
I can already see Jacques Rougeau could show up in his Mountie outfit and say, "I'm here to save the day."
Here's my other thing, if I may, because as you know, I'm not one to criticize anything, as you know. But why is it that every time somebody has to be attacked, the table, that announcer's table, has to be involved?
Hey, did they?
Anybody?
It's
Anybody?
the only
Anybody?
rule they follow in WWE.
Oh, I see. And why is it that everybody that gets beat up has to be beaten up by the steps? Why is that?
It's like the Dothan door.
It's the same. Regardless of who gets beat up there, it's the same way every time.
Listen, this is the thing that got me in the tag match on Saturday night, the main event, Usos versus Kevin and Willy Wonka, and but Sammy is double teamed on the outside. Okay, referee's watching. He's getting double teamed. Here comes Kevin around the corner and stops. And the announcers are saying, "Oh, well, he stopped because if he interferes, they could get disqualified."
Who's the announcer? Who was the announcer on this? Was that the?
It's Michael Cole and your favorite.
Oh. Okay.
And Michael Cole was laughing during the thing with they were beating the crap out of each other. Sheamus,
Yeah,
Gunther,
and
yeah.
I'm thinking, I'd fired him. I'm sorry. See, that's the reason we're not in the wrestling business. We have nobody working for us. We'd fire them all. Because we want some believability, and Michael Cole, you're no Jim Ross, Michael Cole.
You know, I did hear the I can't think of his name, something Emmanuel at Endeavor. He's over it, Ari Emmanuel, I believe. But he said that he thought the only change that he could foresee coming was to make WWE a little bit more serious.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking,
yeah,
I hope you do, because UFC don't have comedy. And look at how many tickets they sell, how many pay-per-view buys they sell. And he understands the principle of, those guys are over there and they're beating the snot out of each other. And over here, we're pretended to beat the snot out of each other. So what's the one common denominator? It's presented both in a serious fashion. Yeah. People know what wrestling is, and people know what UFC is. And as long as they don't do these crossovers, because Conor McGregor, he took a picture with a WWE title on one shoulder and the UFC title on the other. I thought it was a great picture. But how are you going to do that? I mean, if he comes over to us or to WWE and he agrees to a work, well, which WWE guys are going to go back to UFC and pretend that it's not a work and actually get in there? Now, there's some
obviously
tough guys.
We know. Well, it's going to be Cody. It's going to be Cody.
Well, but he better get beat up by Brock Lesnar before the thing starts. But I don't think UFC would. They don't want to tarnish that image. I think the crossovers need to be just with appearances to push pay-per-views on either side. Set those events, and whoever is a main eventer on the next pay-per-view, have them set it ringside and push it during that, and vice versa on the UFC stuff. But don't mix the waters there, because it's not digestible.
My question would be though, would it be better or for me, to me, it would be business wise better to package the two shows as when you're going to, in negotiations with NBC or USA or whatever, you can say, okay, I've got WWE and I've got UFC and package them, put them together as a
I
package and
think
sell
that's
them
what they're
together.
looking at because the UFC's ESPN deal is up in 2025.
Yes.
Uh,
And possibly ESPN as well.
and yeah, and the Peacock deal for WWE is up in 2026. So of course they'll start negotiating long before those contracts are out. In fact,
Sure.
they'll start next year. But I believe that is what they're going to do, and could even start their own streaming service.
Yes.
So that's and
Possible.
that wasn't, I didn't
And
pull that out of the air. I read that from some of their people
and
had
and
made that
it's
comment.
certainly as what we've found through our time, it's best, my belief is that it is best to try to control as much as the distribution of product as you possibly can. That way, in
Yeah.
the end, somebody can't yank the rug out from underneath you.
Well, we talked about this before we came on. Is they bought UFC in 2016, 3.1 billion. They're worth 9.1 billion now. So they have tripled basically. They've more than made their money back twice over.
I,
They paid 9.3 billion for WWE, and if they didn't have the intent and the ability to triple or quadruple, then they would never have bought it. These people are not idiots. It's not a Tony Khan type deal of Daddy, give me some money so I can start my own stuff. These are people that have looked at financials, understands the process, knows the work they're going to have to put in to make it successful. And you're not chilling out. It's chilling out $9.1 billion if you don't have a plan in place.
Endeavor, 17 businesses they own.
Worth
17. So
worth 21.1 billion, I think now.
yeah, so they're not stupid people. They didn't get to where they were. 17 business and some very
and
successful businesses.
and I'm grateful that a media company did not buy them because I
Yeah,
believe that would
yeah,
have been the end
yeah.
of it. If an NBC Universal, and I think somebody was talking about Disney was thinking about buying them. Disney's not in any position to do any
Let,
buying.
let, let,
Neither is TBS, Warner Discovery. They're not in any position to buy anything right now either.
let me hit just a couple things before
Sure.
we start. And WWE stock closed today at $97 dollars and 25 cents, which was a pretty good increase. Vince McMahon was already worth $3.1 billion when he woke up this morning. That was his personal wealth. Today, off stocks alone, he made $200 million. For a guy that's out of touch, he sure knows how to make money.
Hey,
And hey, I don't like the stuff he does either. Do what? Uh,
let me. I want
yeah,
to say something, and then I'll let you go back. People talk about WWE and they talk about the programming, and they'll say, "Oh, WWE Raw is down." But what we found out through research was that USA Network is down. In 2016, they have an average of 3 million viewers. Today, they only have an average of 745,000 viewers because people drop cable. And so they still do almost 3 times the average viewer on USA Network. I think that's successful.
And plus all of those great programs they have on USA. I mean, they spare no expense.
it has not been the same since Monk was canceled.
Well, in that, I always like Commander USA myself in his groovy movies.
I,
Okay.
I don't think they're going anywhere. I think they're going to get renewed on USA Network. They're going to be I don't think they'll get 285 million. I think they'll get the same amount of money. And I think they'll be renewed on SmackDown too. I think Fox.
Raw drew for 3 hours last night an average of 2.26 million.
That's pretty good. That's the
That
highest
is
in the world.
up 800,000 from last week. So all of those fans who have been on social media saying they're done with WWE, y'all a bunch of liars. So the first hour actually topped 2.4 million. So that's pretty good. SmackDown still did a 2.21 last Friday. Um, let's see, WrestleMania social media views 500 million. That is unprecedented. 11 million hours were viewed. The gate was, we've talked about this, 21.6 million. Reported attendance, we know they fluffed their numbers, but they're still within usually about 10,000 of what they report. But for 2 nights, 161,892. And their merchandise sales were up 20% from last year's WrestleMania. This is the most successful WrestleMania they ever had. Bear in mind, last year was also the most money generated ever on their pay-per-view for WrestleMania. So every year they're growing. It's steady growth. We can argue when Raw drops down to a 1.6, but the social media presence, the sponsorships, all that. AEW drew 833,000 last Wednesday. They're not even in the ballpark. They're still out there waiting for some coach to holler at them, tell them to come get in the game.
Yeah.
And I don't think they have cleats. So, more power to them. I hope that they succeed, but they are never going to pass WWE. And I think this is going to start putting so much more mileage between the two of them. I'm glad there's alternates out there. But quit trying to copy WWE, because they're the only ones who understand how to do this the way that makes them money, whether we like it or not.
And being part of Endeavor is even going to make them stronger.
Yep.
So, Tony Khan, you might want to just tell Daddy, say, Daddy, I know you tell everybody to sell.
Stocks dropped yesterday because there was a lot of uncertainty as to what was going on. But today they rebounded huge, $200 million. By the time he was eating his well thought out diet at lunch, he made more money than most of us will ever imagine, all of us together, in a lifetime, in one day.
I did buy some Endeavor stock. I just want to buy some Endeavor stock.
Now I'm not a stock guy, but I believe if I had the money to invest, that's what I'd be buying.
Yes.
Anyway, insiders, love you guys. Come on.
For the love of God and erotic lingerie. Pooh, I cannot speak.
Erotic lingerie.
Thank you. What's causing all this from Mako, Richard?
I love Mako. Mako, we need to talk sometime, man. I'm telling
you. Richard Hood, hello, fellows. From let's see, James Brown, which is Kevin Penley. Hello, my question is, when has Jim Crockett and Nick Goulas ever had a joint show in Nashville? I don't think they ever have. I don't think so. I don't think they would have. Ric Flair's son-in-law told me they co-promoted many times. I don't remember this.
I don't remember it.
I just cannot see it.
The fact is, I'm not sure that any Jim Crockett talent was over for Dick Goulas ever. I don't recall ever.
I mean,
unless you're talking about when George was promoting Ricky Steamboat, then when it come up, it was Vicky Steamboat.
Well, now remember, this could have happened a long time ago, and the son-in-law may have got confused with Davy Crockett.
Now, there's a possibility that in the 50s, and we will find out as we're looking at Jim, maybe they did, and we'll look in on it. But Ric Flair's son-in-law sometimes will be broke if he keeps on being around Ric Flair.
Well, he keeps listening to Rick. So we know how much trouble you can get into by repeating Rick's story.
Jim Crockett Sr. was a revolutionary in promotion. Yes, he was. And that's from Richard Hood. Paul, greetings from
Yep.
Lots of leg slaps at WrestleMania weekend.
There
I
were.
looked him on there for some reason. I don't know why. I did see some from the women more than anything.
Yeah, there were not as many as what you get used to on Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah.
And we agreed that the Sammy Kevin Usos match probably would have been a great match, but there was so many super kicks. So many.
Yeah.
And they just, I mean, at this point, super kicks don't mean anything.
Yeah.
They're just kicks.
Hello, distinguished professors from Robert Grice. Glenn Shelton is with us. Kevin Penley also said, did Brent Rodney's dad help start out Nick Patrick as a referee? Yes, I believe he did. I'm pretty sure he showed him the ropes, so to speak. Don Hester, hello everyone. Kevin Penley, did Rodney invent the Kevin Sullivan Tree of Woe?
No, I believe that woe was started long before me. And I remember being in it. It was like when the seeds were planted, when Kevin Sullivan was wrestling against Mark Lewin. The amount of low blows in that match. I mean, he was kicking those Mark Lewin seeds all over the place. Though they were in the front row, they were under the ring, on the ring post. They were in the front row, all over the place. And those seeds of trees of woes, especially Columbus, those areas, I think that's where the tree of woe is actually.
Why didn't the NWA World Tag Team Champions travel like the single champion?
I think that's because they had world champions everywhere, tag team champions everywhere.
Yeah, they did, but it was also the expense of that.
Sure.
That you could justify bringing a world's champion in, but it was hard to justify bringing, two guys together.
I think every at one time every place had world tag team champions. Yeah. Florida has their own.
Yeah.
The Ulas had his own.
Yeah, I think everybody had. I'm a bit familiar with the name Mike Kalonis. I believe he went on to have something to do with wrestling in Chicago.
Yeah, that's great.
There you go. Let's see. Does the Crockett still only own any business in the Carolinas? I think they sold the baseball.
Yeah, so too. No, I'm pretty sure if they still had some business, you wouldn't see David showing up at NWA.
Boys, you've lost me with all the nostalgia and the small details and the connection with them. Let's see, Don. Let's see. I'm trying to get through. So there's people just talking with each other. So let's. I'm a freaking historian. I love the bloody sheep herders.
Yep.
Yeah, the sheep herders were good. Have you all seen how well Roman Reigns has grown as a wrestler? He is tremendous.
Yeah.
Everything looks good. Everything he does looks believable. Big fan of Roman Reigns.
Here's his biggest selling thing to me is the facial expressions. They match what he's going through. And it's not goofy like a lot of, when you're
overdone.
Don't pin somebody and you got that shocked look, he's got that disgusted look, which is what you would have in reality. You're mad because they kicked out, not surprised.
Richard Hood, rest in peace, Butch Williams. Richard Hood, what do you think about UFC buying WWE? I think we've talked about it. I think it's great.
Of all options, this is the best one.
Yeah. Rick Brooks said Hall of Fame was crap, except for Cohen's excellent. Conan, he was there.
He was. He inducted Ray and did a magnificent job. If you don't watch any other induction, watch that one because it is well worth it. Ric Flair got in some trouble because he mentioned Sting and several others, and Muta barely speaks English, so his acceptance was very short. But the high spot of him was he went around in front of the podium and did his deal and spit the green fog out, and people lost their minds.
Hey, why did Rey Mysterio have a Great Muta mask, basically?
He said, and I saw this because I was thinking the same thing. He said they had been developing that mask for 6 years. He knew when Hollywood was coming up, and it was some kind of tribute to, I don't know if it was Marvel characters or just comic book characters in general, but it was a hood type thing. He even had another one on at WrestleMania night too when he came out. When they were honoring the Hall of Fame. When he just comes out and waves. But he had another nice one.
But it's made just like Muta's, right? Basically.
Yeah, along those same lines. And he said, they had already pre-planned this. It was in all the graphics, and he said I couldn't just not do it. But he said we, didn't know that Muta was going in when we were planning this. But he said if people look at it as my way of honoring him, he said, hey, that's fine because he said I love Muta.
I'm a freaking historian. Is it just me, or during those fatal 4-ways, doesn't it seem weird when there's 3 people hunkering down beside the ring while 2 wrestlers are on? Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of those matches at all.
A new subscriber. Well, thank you so much. That's what we want people to do. Get over there if you're on. Right now you're not on Facebook because we're only on YouTube. Subscribe.
Don't think we're crazy. We don't always go on rants. Well, Rodney does.
Last week it was Brent.
Yes, it was.
I'm still getting messages about Terry Taylor's very special gift.
Yeah.
We're
very passionate about our industry.
Is that little Bendy Tara? Is that what it is?
That's what it looks like.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Hey, share, and let the people know what we're doing. Guys, just go ahead and say the WrestleMania was horrible. It was not horrible.
No, not overall. There was, you can pick apart anything, and that's what we're looking at is just those parts we didn't like.
Yeah.
It's you can't be right every time. It's like Shane McMahon doing a leapfrog.
Snoop Doggy Dogg, though, I have to give him this. He ad-libbed that stuff, I believe.
It was all over TV. What's the TMZ? I catch that every day for a few minutes sometimes. I don't really watch, but I have it on while I'm doing stuff, getting ready to go pick one of the kids up. And that was their big thing. Now, they talked about the sale, but as far as from WrestleMania, that's what they concentrated on.
But I think he did it all. I don't know. Was he supposed to do that at the end of the night?
It was improv. Whoever was in the referee's earpiece, from what I understood, said, "Hey, tell Snoop to do something," and so she's telling him. He follows through, and Miz. This is why I like Miz. Is he is the workhorse of the WWE. There is nothing that he won't go out there and do. He will go out there and be your champion and be credible, for today's standards. Or he'll go out there and make a complete buffoon out of himself. He doesn't care. Whatever you ask him to do, he's going to go out there and do. So he's laying down and he's telling Snoop what to do. Knowing that it's going to make him look kind of silly, but he don't care. He put the business first.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was great.
For him to come in and hit him, and then he hits him again and then does the Rock deal was tremendous. Yeah. It got over. It got over with me, and that's it. But a lot of things got over with me. I watched the matches and I went, now that was good. That was a good finish. I thought Cody and Roman did a tremendous job.
Yeah.
I think Cody did too.
Did I say Cody?
Yeah.
He didn't watch it, but he's agreeing with you.
Maybe Cody needs a beer gut and a tumor to elevate. What part of this conversation have I missed? Well, we talked about Jim Crockett at the beginning, and now we're just talking WrestleMania.
Yeah,
because
Michael had messaged me. He was going to be late, but we're just now getting into everything. And I saw him earlier when he had commented, so I didn't say nothing.
preach it, Rodney. Let's see.
I haven't even begun to talk about the ring announcer.
Oh my gosh, that ring announcing so that.
Oh, oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, she's so bad. She's embarrassed.
Oh, this one was awful. The one last night where he's introducing the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes.
I couldn't understand what he was saying.
Oh, he's awful.
I knew what he was supposed to say, but I couldn't make it out.
Oh my, he's awful. They're gonna have to do something about the broadcast team.
It's
terrible.
The ring announcing everywhere is just so far over the top. It's not just WWE. Every promotion I watch, it's just
even boxing to a certain extent has over the top.
Look, Michael Buffer was perfect, but everybody's trying to outdo him, and you're not Michael Buffer. None of you.
No.
I can't believe Jack brought up Michael Buffer. Now I'm upset.
No,
I'm still upset, and that was 30 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
1992 or something.
I remember that.
You're right, Rodney. The commentating is not with Russ.
It was awful. That they're commentating Corey Graves and Kevin Patrick, I think his name. It was awful. And normally I don't listen, but I had heard it. I had seen it earlier in the day. I had seen it on YouTube. I've seen the part of it, and I thought, well, I'm going to have to rewatch that because it sounded like the ring announcer had an aneurysm or something. And so I wanted to hear that again. And then I watched the entire thing because I was hearing this commentary, and the commentary did not to me take it seriously. And honestly, for me, the reaction of the crowd was not what I would expect it to be. There was no heat in that crowd. None.
Well, because they like Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, I think
they didn't care.
I think they've turned, if you want to call it turning, they've done it so much it doesn't mean anything. I think that's what we saw. And when he did the final F5 on the steps, it wasn't sympathy that I heard from that crowd for Cody. All I heard was, oh. And that was it. The reaction is not the reaction of someone like when you watch Dusty Ole turn on Dusty in the cage. It's not that same one. It's not the reaction. You're not seeing things being thrown into the ring. There was no heat there. There's simply not. And that's the one thing I definitely noticed about the whole thing.
I see Cody. I think he means Cody.
Yeah.
Becoming United States heavyweight champion. I do too. I believe he will be next. Because I think Gunther will be the next world heavyweight champion. The announcers' tables take a beating over and over again.
It's terrible. It's collapsed. The way they collapsed perfectly. The what?
It's the toughest thing on the shelves.
It is.
Those tables.
Yeah, that and the steps.
What got me is right where they told the winners of the matches. Kind of took the mystery out of it. Yeah, I don't think they should have done that. They should have told the people to go watch it and replay, shouldn't they? Next year you'll have to pay for WrestleMania, I think. I believe
well, yeah, because by then Endeavor will take over. But now I did hear from somebody there, I don't remember who it was, that they said they knew that they could not charge for wrestling pay-per-views the way they do UFC because that's a different crowd. See, right off the bat, they understand the difference. So they're going for two separate crowds. They're not trying to combine all these fans into, the two events. So, maybe from what I did hear or read was the big pay-per-views, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and
Survivor Series
would all be titled as the premium pay-per-view events, so that you would have to pay extra to get those. And I'm gonna, you know, if they give us the rest of the other pay-per-views free of charge, which is what the plan is right now, and then we have to pay $20, you know, for a premium event over what I'm already paying to get this app they're on, or whatever they're going to do it, I'm okay with that. I don't mind. Now, you start wanting to charge me $70 to see WrestleMania, I'll be one of them streamers that catches it the next day, and y'all show me the highlights.
Last night, over 3 hours, they did more talking than the actual matches.
And that's true. The opening segment was 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I was watching the Night Agent on Netflix.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, I was watching that. So I did.
Yeah, he's absolutely right about that.
200 million. I just crapped my shorts. Mako said for me.
And see, here's the thing: as successful as WrestleMania was, he made more money getting up this morning than he did over the whole weekend of WrestleMania, the biggest event in their history.
It's tremendous. Evil Doink and Bob Holly is going to be the 2024 Hall of Fame. So it's a little Bondi Terra. Evil Doink. Hey, Evil Doink. There was a couple of Doinks, right? And Steve Labardi was one of them.
Steve
Kern, Matt Bourne.
I believe Steve Kern was the first one. Matt Bourne was the second one, and of course, you know, they had so much difficulty dealing with him, and then Steve Lombardi did it after they got rid of that guy. So.
Does this include the millions I have in stock as well? Michael Barr wants to know that. Hey, you know, if you do have a little bit, if you're in the stock, Endeavor stock as well while you're at it. If you could have some stock right now, the stock is not Endeavor stock is only, I think, like $20, $21 a share right now. But I have a feeling within the next 2 or 3 years, that stock's going to come up. And I think if you want to buy the stock that's going to be combined, it's going to be TKO.
TKO.
Be able to buy that stock. So if they can bet on W matches, how do you keep Vince from rewriting segments?
You don't.
You don't.
That's what we were talking. I may have been between ourselves. We were talking about that, but you know, that's going to lead to some of the biggest lawsuits they've ever encountered.
But did
because
WrestleMania, did DraftKings not do a thing?
Yes.
How many?
Yes.
I thought they did.
Oh, there was a lot of Cody fans that were crying. They really thought they had that one, I think.
Conrad is full of bull. I'm a freaking historian. Very successful.
I like Conrad, but yeah, he listens to Rick too much.
Yeah, yes, he does. AEW keeping the nation's hospital system busy.
Yeah, God, it was the most insane, stupid move I've ever seen. They were in the ring on ladders, done a power bomb type deal to the outside through tables, and the guy taking all that broke his leg.
That was Dante Martin, I think that's his name.
And this is like the third time since he started there that he's going to be out 6 months.
Wow. Maybe that's his job. Maybe that's what they pay him to be the crash guy. Designated crash dummy. But my the thing about it is that later is what I think me and Brett was talking about earlier in the week. Eventually, when somebody really gets hurt bad or even worse, will be the end. They won't be getting any. Their insurance will go through the roof, and they won't be allowed in arenas because the cities won't allow them in.
See, right now, I mean, wrestlers carry their own insurance, but WWE does pick up a big portion of the bill. I mean, you at least don't have to take care of any co-pays. Vance and company do that. Now, is Endeavor going to do that? I don't know. I mean, to me, it would be smarter to just not put people in that position to get hurt.
That is correct. Because look, if you had him for the shows booked for the shows after that, house shows or what have you, now they've got to substitute it. And so what good does it do? I mean, seriously, and did that give them one more person in ratings? Do they give it? Does that give them one more dollar? Does one more person come to see that show? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Crockett used to own the affiliate minor league baseball team in Charlotte, and their sister's the one that ran that.
Yeah.
She was the one that ran it. So,
Francis.
Sean Smith, $1 million investment that Vince McMahon invested in 1982 turned into $9 billion for Vince McMahon.
Well, at one time, 9.1 billion or 9.3 billion. Just think of, I mean, he's a $3 billion worth now, personal. So, 9 is just the start of it.
Yeah.
So,
who was the person that the star that got hurt? It was Bad Bunny, right? The one who helped Rey Mysterio. Well, that got over when he grabbed a hold of that got. I mean, the people popped on it.
And last night on Raw, once again, a
Yeah.
victim of the commentators table.
Yeah.
Very brutal.
They're doing, is it Backlash in Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico.
And he's probably going to wrestle there. So
I think just for a joke, I would go out there and gimmick.
Bad Bunny.
Just for a little, I'd go out there and gimmick that table where it wouldn't give.
Hey, the Tommy Weathers on Ronnie West and Triple H Cody Smith isn't so funny now. Let's see. The female ring announcer is the horrible one. Sounds like she's passing a kidney stone.
You're right, boy.
Yeah, she's horrible. Brock was rough on Cody. Yes, he was. He did not hold
he's
back.
rough on everybody, though. It wasn't just Cody.
I really felt, if you looked at in his face, I really felt like I'm feeling sorry for him about now.
No kayfabe makes for very poor heat.
That's true. I mean, you're absolutely true about that.
Well, and let's look at. I think one of the worst things WWE does toward Roman Reigns is they present him as the face of the company. We've never had that before. Where they're trying to make him popular but keep him a heel. I think it confuses people too much. They need a face of the company, but they don't have one. Not yet. I think Cody can get that. But
well, Cody already declared himself in an interview that he already was the face of the company.
Yeah, I saw
he said a lot of very stupid things this week.
Well, I wish that was true.
Parents, apparently Dusty and his mother allowed him to play with paper bags. Plastic bags got caught on his head.
Did you ever hear him talk about how Dusty got mad at him? Because Dusty kept all his, his old boots, his tights, his robes, everything up in the attic of their house. And he said, Cody was always coming in, with new electronic stuff, and he couldn't figure out where he was getting the money from. Well, he was going up in the attic, taking that stuff down, putting it on the internet and selling it.
It's always been a little crook. The one thing that really got me this week in Cody's conversations and interviews that he did is him going back to his days of AEW and talking about the regrets that he had by putting some of those guys over. This shows a lack of real understanding of the wrestling business. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That comment shows that he has a lack of understanding and could be very difficult to get the belt off of him if they put it on him. So he might have burned really bad bridge. I would think twice. I would have to sit down with him. Possibly another contract says, "Hey, you're going to have to drop it when it comes time." If they ever go there.
Shane may have blown a quad, but he was correct when he said to his dad, "Let's buy UFC."
I don't think Vince could have made it go because Vince has that entertainment mind.
Yeah.
Whatever he's involved with has to have that entertainment aspect of it, and he would not be satisfied with ring entrances and the lights and all that kind of stuff. He would have had to have gotten in there and started telling guys, "Hey, let's work this angle."
Sure, and the fact is that the cages and stuff, they would be always have equipment failure. The cage would break, the ring would break. the ropes would break. When you have a multi-billion-dollar, you're not investing in your equipment. That's terrible, and this is what would happen with UFC.
Vince has never been successful at any other business that he has tried to run. Not movies, not football, not bodybuilding, because he only knows how to do one thing successfully, not correctly, but successfully, and that's professional wrestling.
Yep.
You're right. Mako's right. There was nobody waiting for him in the parking lot.
Well, they did. They told him, "Good job beating up on Cody."
Sure, they did, and that was, kind of they got a few people in the audience looking kind of concerned.
Hey, that was Cody's family.
That was probably stocked footage. The fact of the matter is, I don't think anybody was in there trying to jump over the rail, trying to stop him. There was no security having to snatch anybody.
I don't think if I was somebody, I'd want to try to jump in and stop.
Well, we've seen them, Brent. We've seen them. If they were really into it and really liked that guy, it doesn't matter how big they were. I mean, let's think about it. One guy jumps on Michael Hayes, and there's no way that old guy was going to do anything to Michael Hayes.
This is the thing, though. They turn people so much, it don't mean nothing. So
that's true.
Ray Apollo. Who's Ray Apollo?
He was Doink.
He works the East Coast.
Oh, okay, because I don't even know who. If I knew Michael Barr, was there any other? What was, if any, was the best storyline on Raw last night? I did not see one. I don't watch Raw. I did watch, and I kind of knew what was going on because I had watched pieces of it on YouTube. I don't watch Raw itself, and I don't watch SmackDown. I just watch pieces on YouTube. So I watched the important things on YouTube, and I try to steer away from any women wrestling.
Well,
most of it ain't any good. I thought Rhea and Charlotte was tremendous, but most of the women are over the top actors. They just act too much.
There were storylines on Raw last night. The thing is, if you don't watch Raw and SmackDown regularly, you're not going to understand what part of the story is being told. Yeah. Triple H has, to his credit, gone back to trying to develop stories. I don't know where Vince would have went with this bloodline thing, because he's the one that built it. It was his idea. So, you can't say he didn't know what he's doing in the last few years, because the strongest storyline that they've had probably in 10 years is that. And Triple H picked it right up and kept the ball rolling, and the ball's still rolling. Roman's going to be gone for a while. In the meantime, here's your story: is whether we agree to how the next page, win or not. Fact is, he's building Cody slowly and not just pushing it all at once. And I think that's for a multitude of reasons. I think he's wanting to see what Cody's willing to do for the company. And I think he understands that he's going to get more out of Cody and satisfy those fans more than giving them a quick win. Whereas if they put it off till SummerSlam, or they put it off to WrestleMania next year, whatever they do, when we get, as fans, get that payoff, we're going to be through the roof.
Yep.
It's going to really, really mean something. Sunday night meant something, but that's a chapter, like he explained in the press conference, that's a chapter in the book. Let's go to the next chapter, and that's exactly what storytelling in wrestling is about. We don't know what the final chapter's already been written. He knows where they're going. That's the way you book professional wrestling. You know where you want to go, and you book backwards from there. And I know that's a concept hard for just regular fans to understand, but that's the way great novels are written. A writer knows what he's wanting to end with, and he just, you pace yourself back and back and back, and you start adding and building until you get to that massive last chapter, and it all comes together. So, there are stories. There are stories.
But nobody can argue WWE is a money maker. Nobody can argue that. How much do you think they brought in to Hollywood? I mean, they had to bring in millions of dollars.
I bet you at least 10 million. At least 10 million.
People they are vying for WrestleMania. They want WrestleMania to come to their town.
And I can't tell you how many people I saw on my timeline, people that I know that were griping about not being able to get their flights out in time to come back home today. It's just, people spend a tremendous, airplanes make money, hotels make money, local food establishments make money, the venue makes money, WWE makes money. Everybody cleans up when they're in town.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many independent shows ran around the area, but you had several separate cons, with other wrestlers there. I've seen all kinds of wrestlers that showed up for those. So, and let's not forget Rick Steiner. Of course, I think theirs was in Philadelphia or somewhere. I can't remember. They were flying back and forth to California.
It always says that Rick Steiner was not the brightest one on the horizon, neither.
And what we did that thing in Georgia 2 years ago, I think, and originally we were supposed to be sitting beside the Steiners, and I went to the guy running it, and I said, no.
We would have probably got yelled at. Hey, so they went from leg slapping to leg breaking. That's Michael Barr, and that's probably true. Quit putting monster-sized wrestlers with tiny people, and all means quit the aerobics.
Braun Strowman's a huge human being, but it's like they did to Big Show, and it don't matter anymore. The size doesn't mean anything because they got little guys out there they're having to keep up with and put over, and it just kills them. To me, as a big man, they're just worthless now.
Yeah. When will Roman Reigns be over, or will it? I think he's going to be there another year.
Everything comes to an end, of course, but right now, the guy's rolling with more heat than anybody has had in years.
Yeah. All right, Rodney, final thoughts, and then we'll get off of here.
Matt Riddle came back last night. I'm also concerned about Austin Theory. I have a problem with his hygiene. I'm afraid that there might be some issues there with body odor. It just looks to me that he may stink. He might need to get maybe some soap because he looks like he's rough there. I believe there's some body odor there that he needs to take care of because he just looks like he stinks. A man that sweats that much, and that's just coming to the ring. I think there's a problem there, and he needs to take care of because he looks nasty. I'm just going to tell you, he looks nasty. He needs to shave something. He needs to get that together, some product in that beard, if that's what he's going to do with the Jesse Ventura look there.
Hey, Rick Rubin was at WWE. Did you see that Rick Rubin was there talking to Kevin Owens? Rick Rubin, by the way, for those people who don't know, he was the one that put the money in the Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I can see maybe why he didn't continue getting money because he looked like a bum.
Well, he might have lost it all. Stephen Amell was at Raw. He was there this past week. He said the WWF ruined his life because Cody didn't go over. And I'm thinking, who cares?
Well, he ruined my life on that darn Arrow that I watched, and
that was a disaster.
So
that whole thing, that was just.
I'm just waiting for the next season of Heels to come out.
I've not watched.
And Cody also admitted this week that he was jealous of the Dusty's kids over at NXT. Why, I don't know, but he was jealous of them. Apparently, if he had the opportunity, he would go through their bags and see what he could put on the internet to sell.
Jack, any final comments? And then we're going to have to get off of here and move on to.
Have I mentioned Vince made $200 million today?
Yes, I think you
Well,
mentioned
then,
that.
I don't have anything else.
My
That's it.
endeavor stock didn't make that much, so I'm not going to be.
If you had 200 million to put into it, I bet you could make 200 million.
One last question here, Brent. You think The Rock versus Roman Reigns? You think that's a good idea?
And Rock will never do that. He is in Hawaii right now, I believe, and I believe he is working on the actual. What's that? What's the one that he did? The cartoon that he did with the as the
Or something.
Mahona, whatever
Yeah.
the.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I'm talking about? That character, the Disney.
Yeah, Disney. Yeah.
It's going to come to. He's going to play that character in real life.
Yeah, they're going to do a live version of it.
Yeah. So probably.
And the thing about it is that was as big as his head is, he didn't have to do much for that. And you know something else I have to say about that Rock. I don't think they should ever wrestle against each other, because here we have a problem with who goes over. I think they should be as a team. That's my opinion.
Well, I think I'm very upset. And this is my last comment that I'm going to make. I'm very upset because I really thought that Hornswoggle was going to be the WWE champion.
He was at that Philadelphia Comic Con.
By the way, Michael Barr says his birthday's on Thursday.
Happy birthday to you.
Oh, whoa. No, you went too far.
Happy birthday.
No, you went too far. You don't do the singing on here.
I'm not attempting that.
Song. Isn't that song? I have heard that song is somehow copyrighted.
It is. You just got copyrighted, and now the whole thing, an hour and 42 minutes we've done, and now it's going to be completely yanked off because of your terrible and awful singing.
Well, I'll be honest with you. This
sound
show
like a bad imitation.
If it gets yanked off. Anyway, folks, thank you so much for being a part of Pro Wrestling Inside Now. We'll see everybody next week as we continue our look at Jim Crockett Promotions and or maybe Memphis, Tennessee. We'll see which two that we'll be looking at. It's really according to how long it takes to find the research find the information. Thank y'all so much. We'll see everybody next week right here on Pro Wrestling Inside.
Yay, Matt.